A blinding flash, a sensation of being torn apart and stitched back together molecule by agonizing molecule. I awaken not in my sterile Seattle apartment, but on cold, crystalline ground, the air tasting of ozone and strange, sweet blossoms. Before my eyes can adjust to the impossible sight of twin suns blazing in a violet sky, a shadow eclipses them. A woman with skin the color of polished jade and eyes like chips of glacial ice presses a blade, humming with latent energy, to my throat. "My brother was a fool to trust an off-worlder," she hisses, her voice a low, dangerous thrum. "Give me one reason why I shouldn't end this farce right now." My head throbs, a phantom echo of my friend's last, desperate transmission burned into my memory. "They'll kill you if they know the truth. For their sake, you have to make them believe you're their husband." My heart hammers against my ribs. Husband? What the hell had Tarek gotten me into? I swallow, the blade digging a fraction deeper. "Because," I manage, my voice raspy, "your brother didn't send an off-worlder, he sent a friend. And he told me to watch my back, especially around the beautiful ones with sharp objects." Her eyes narrow, a flicker of something unreadable in their silver depths. She doesn't remove the blade. From behind her, a softer voice emerges, like the chiming of crystal bells. "Kaylee, that's enough. Tarek's will was clear." Another woman approaches, her movements as fluid as water. Her skin shares the same emerald hue, but her eyes are a deep, knowing azure, and dark hair cascades around shoulders draped in flowing robes. She carries an aura of serenity that seems utterly out of place. "He is our designated protector. At least allow him to stand before you execute him." Kaylee lets out a sound of disgust, but pulls the blade back a hair. "Protector? He looks like he'd lose a fight with a stiff breeze." I use the opportunity to push myself up, my body screaming in protest from the molecular reconstruction. My name is Luke Miller. 6 hours ago, I was an interstellar coalition engineer nursing a cheap coffee. Now, I'm apparently the new husband to 2 alien warrior mystics on a world that shouldn't exist. And I have a sinking feeling that my friend didn't just die. He was murdered for a secret I'm now supposed to protect. Mara, the gentle one, offers a hand. I take it, and a strange, warm energy flows through me, steadying my shaking limbs. "I am Mara. This is my sister, Kaylee. Welcome to Virael, Luke Miller. I wish it were under less tense circumstances." "Me too," I say, my gaze fixed on Kaylee, who still holds her weapon as if it's an extension of her arm. "Tarek said you were in danger. He said you needed a guardian." "We need a warrior, not a technician who flinches at his own shadow," Kaylee counters, finally sheathing her blade with a decisive snap. She turns and stalks toward a sprawling estate that seems to have grown out of the crystal bedrock itself. "Come. The council will want to see the human my brother saddled us with. Try not to embarrass our family name before you've even learned how to pronounce it." Mara gives me an apologetic look. "Forgive her. Grief wears sharp edges on my sister. She loved our brother dearly." "So did I say quietly, looking at the impossible, beautiful, and terrifying city around us. "And I intend to find out who took him from us." Mara's serene expression tightens. "Be careful what you seek, Luke Miller. On Virael, some truths are sharper than any blade." As we walk, I realize we're being watched, not by people, but by the city itself. Glowing glyphs on the crystal towers seem to follow our movements. This isn't just a city, it's a surveillance network. And I, the unexpected variable, have just stepped onto its stage. The estate's interior is a disorienting fusion of living flora and hyper-advanced technology. Walls seem to breathe, and holographic displays flicker in and out of existence like ghosts. Kaylee leads me to a chamber that is part armory, part training ground. The law is ancient and absolute, she states, her back to me as she calibrates a wicked-looking rifle. Upon the death of a clan head without a male heir, his successor must assume his titles, his wealth, and his responsibilities. All of them. She turns, her silver eyes pinning me in place. Our brother named you. In the eyes of Voriel, you are now the head of the Riasa clan, and by law you are bound to us, as we are to you. I feel the weight of that word bound. And if I refuse? A humorless smile touches her lips. Then we are declared clanless, our assets seized, our status stripped. We become vulnerable, and the artifact our family has protected for generations goes to the council. To him. Him. Mara enters the room, a tray of steaming cups in her hands. High Counselor Zarak. He has long coveted the heart of Riasa. He believes it is the key to purifying our society. She sets the tray down, her gaze distant. He speaks of strengthening our bloodlines, of weeding out genetic weaknesses. Tarek believed he was performing horrific experiments. My blood runs cold. Tarek had mentioned Zarak in his last message, a garbled warning about ambition and a lust for control. What does this artifact do? Kaylee picks up a practice staff, weighing it in her hands. It is a source of immense power. In the right hands, it can heal, create, terraform. In the wrong hands, it can rewrite the very fabric of life. Mara finishes, her voice barely a whisper. Zarak would use it to force his vision of perfection upon everyone, an evolution born of genocide. I finally understand. Tarek didn't just send for a successor. He sent for an engineer, someone who understood systems, someone who could see the weapon for what it was. But he also sent for an outsider, someone Zarak wouldn't have anticipated. He knew Zarak would kill him, I say, the realization hitting me like a physical blow. He knew, and he sent for me to finish the fight. Before either of them can respond, a high-pitched alarm shrieks through the estate. Red lights flash along the walls. Perimeter breach, Kaylee snarls, grabbing her rifle. Multiple hostiles, northern gardens. She looks at me with a mix of fury and challenge. Stay here and hide, human. This is beyond you. Like hell, I retort, my mind already racing, picturing the estate schematics Tarek had sent me in those data packets. Your garden's sonic irrigation system. What's its maximum frequency? Kaylee pauses, momentarily confused. I don't know. It's for plants. They're shield generators, I say, grabbing a data pad. They're coalition tech. I helped design the damn things. They have a resonance weakness. If we can hit them with a high-frequency sonic burst, their shields will collapse. Mara's eyes widen. Kaylee stares at me, her expression shifting from contempt to grudging consideration. The control panel is in the center of the garden, exposed. Then you'll have to cover me, I say, a grim smile on my face, unless you'd rather I hide. Kaylee lets out a sharp, almost feral grin. Perhaps you're not just talk and soft hands after all, Earthman. Don't get yourself killed. She tosses me a sidearm. It feels unnervingly natural in my hand, a ghost of a life I'd left behind. Try to keep up. We move the garden, moments before a place of serene beauty is now a war zone. Dark-clad figures rappel from the glass ceiling, laser fire scorching the alien flora. Kaylee moves with a deadly grace that is breathtaking to watch, a whirlwind of precise, lethal strikes. I'm not a soldier anymore, but I know tactics. I provide covering fire, hurting the attackers, forcing them into bottlenecks, anticipating their movements based on standard coalition doctrine. They're good, but they're predictable. I reach the control panel, a shimmering crystal plinth. My fingers fly across the holographic interface, code scrolling before my eyes. Almost there! I shout over the chaos. An attacker gets too close and I pivot, firing twice. The shots hit their mark. I don't let myself think about it. I focus on the code. Kaylee, now! Get clear! She vaults behind a crystal statue just as I slam my palm on the final command. An ear-splitting shriek fills the air, a sound that feels like it's tearing reality apart. The attacker's shields flicker, spark, and die. In the same instant, estate security forces, heavily armed and armored, swarm the garden. The fight is over in seconds. As the last intruder is subdued, Mara appears at our side, her composure unshaken. She looks from the defeated attackers to me, and a small smile touches her lips. An elegant solution. Tarek chose well. Kaylee approaches, her silver eyes studying me with a new, unnerving intensity. Their weapons were real. You could have died. You said you needed a protector, I say, my adrenaline-soaked hands finally starting to shake. I'm just trying to do the job. I notice something on the uniform of one of the unconscious attackers, a subtle glyph, the same one I saw on the city towers, Zarek's mark. This wasn't a random attack, it was a test, and it was being broadcast. I look up toward the crystalline ceiling, and I feel it again, the unnerving sensation of being watched by an entire world. My new life, it seems, comes with a live studio audience. The days that followed were a blur of intense, brutal training and late-night study sessions. Kaylee was a relentless instructor, pushing me past every limit I thought I had. She taught me her people's martial arts, a fluid, deadly dance that felt as much like a meditation as it did combat. During one grueling session, she finally pinned me to the training mats, her body a taut line of muscle against mine, her breath warm on my face. "You're still thinking like an engineer," she panted, her voice losing some of its edge. "Analyzing, predicting you need to feel the fight. Let it flow." "I'm a little distracted," I managed, acutely aware of her proximity, the scent of exotic spices and ozone that clung to her. A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "Focus, Earthman." But she held the position a moment too long, a silent acknowledgement of the energy crackling between us. With Mara, the lessons were different. She taught me to interface with the estate's neural network, a system that responded not just to commands, but to emotion. "True connection is a form of energy," she explained one evening, her hand guiding mine over a shimmering control surface. A jolt, like static electricity, passed between us. The house security grid lit up like a new constellation. Zarak sees power as a tool for control. He will never understand that its true strength lies in resonance, in harmony. It was during one of these sessions that I found it buried deep within the network's code, masked by layers of encryption, was a hidden subroutine, a live feed, not just of the estate, but of us, every conversation, every training session, every meal. It was all being packaged and broadcast. "We're a reality show," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Mara came to stand behind me, her eyes widening as she saw the feeds, the viewer metrics, the public sentiment charts. Zarak wasn't just watching us. He was turning our lives into entertainment, manipulating the narrative, painting me as a volatile outsider and the sisters as victims of their brother's poor judgment. "He's using public opinion as his weapon," Mara breathed. "If you fail, if you are seen as unworthy, the people will demand our removal. They will hand him the artifact on a silver platter." Kaylee entered, drawn by our silence. She saw the screen and her face became a mask of cold fury. "That son of a bitch." "Then let's give them a show they'll never forget," I said, an idea taking root. A dangerous, reckless plan that was pure engineering. Find the system and exploit its weaknesses. "He wants to paint me as the villain? Fine. He wants drama? We'll give him drama, but we'll do it on our terms. We'll use his own network against him." For the next week, we played our parts for the unseen audience. We argued, we fought. I acted reckless, Kaylee acted resentful, and Mara played the part of the desperate peacemaker. We layered our public performances with encrypted messages, feeding false information to Zarak's spies while coordinating our real plan in the one place his surveillance couldn't reach, the psychic meditation space Mara used. It was a high-wire act, lying to an entire planet, and the strain was immense. The lines between performance and reality began to blur. In a staged argument, Kaylee's hand slapped my face, and the sting felt shockingly real. The hurt in her eyes a little too convincing. Later, when I found her alone in the armory, she didn't offer an apology, only a quiet, "You were right about the sonic frequency, it was brilliant." It was the closest she'd come to a compliment, and it felt more intimate than a kiss. The moment came during the rite of celestial alignment, a major public ceremony held in the Great Hall of the Council. Zarak, in his role as High Counselor, would be there. The artifact, the heart of Riasa, would be brought out for a ritual blessing. It was the perfect stage. Zarak stood on the central platform, radiating smug authority. He looked at me, a wolf's smile on his face, a look that said, "Your show is over." "Before we begin," he announced, his voice booming across the hall and through 1,000 broadcasts, "a final test of the outsider's suitability, the trial of wills. He will face his deepest fears, and we shall all bear witness to his character." He was trying to script the ending, to break me live for the entire planet to see the air shimmered and the world dissolved. I was back on the military transport, the klaxons blaring, my commander screaming an order to abandon our position, to leave my team to die. The guilt, the shame, it was as fresh as it was a decade ago. "You are a coward, Luke Miller," Zarak's voice echoed in the illusion. "You run when it matters." But this time was different. I wasn't that broken soldier anymore. I closed my eyes, centering myself, feeling for the emotional resonance Mara had taught me. This wasn't my memory. It was a weapon. "My past is my own," I said, my voice steady, speaking not to the illusion, but to the sisters I knew were watching. "My honor is not defined by my worst day, but by what I do on my best one." The illusion wavered, and then another took its place. I saw Kaylee and Mara, their faces cold and distant. "You will fail us," they whispered in unison. "You are not one of us." I felt a pang of real fear. This was my deepest anxiety, that I would never truly belong. But then I saw it, a flicker in the code of the illusion, a flaw in the system. "You're right," I said, walking toward the Phantom Sisters. "I'm not one of you. I'm human. I bring a different perspective. And that's not a weakness. It's our greatest strength." With a surge of will, I reached out and seized the illusion, not fighting it, but feeding my own energy back into the psychic link. I didn't just break the trial, I hijacked it. The images in the Great Hall flickered and changed. Instead of my fears, the screens now showed Zarak's hidden labs, the twisted, failed results of his genetic experiments, the proof of his assassination order against Tarek, the raw, unfiltered data logs of his plan to seize the artifact and sterilize a third of his own population. The hall erupted in chaos. Zarak's face went from smug triumph to stark, naked panic. "Lies! Treason!" he roared, signaling his guards. "Seize them! Take the artifact!" But it was too late. We had rewritten the script. Kaylee moved like lightning, her ceremonial robes hiding a full combat suit. Mara raised her hands, and a shield of pure energy shimmered into existence around us, deflecting the guards' attacks. And I, the engineer, the outsider, ran for the artifact. Zarak met me there, his face contorted with rage, a hidden blade in his hand. "You have ruined everything!" he screamed, lunging at me. We fought, a desperate, clumsy battle of a politician against a technician who remembered just enough of his old training. He was stronger, but I was smarter. I didn't fight him. I fought the system. I used his own security fields against him, triggering a containment protocol that trapped him in a cage of hard light. As guards loyal to the council finally swarmed in to secure a sputtering, defeated Zarak, I looked up at the broadcasting drones, now feeding a story of victory and defiance across the planet. I saw Kaylee, fierce and beautiful. Standing over Zarek's elite guard, I saw Mara, her calm power a beacon in the chaos. And I knew in that moment that this was no longer just Tarek's fight. It was ours. The aftermath was a political firestorm. Zarek's conspiracy was dismantled, his followers arrested. The Ryasa clan, once on the verge of ruin, was now lauded as saviors. But victory was not without its scars. In the quiet of the estate gardens, under the light of the 3 moons, the adrenaline finally faded, leaving an aching exhaustion in its wake. Kaylee approached me, her usual warrior's posture softened. She gently touched a deep bruise on my cheek from Zarek's attack. "That was either the bravest or the most foolish thing I have ever witnessed," she said, her voice low. "Is there a difference here?" I asked, my gaze holding hers. Her lips curved into a slow, genuine smile. "Perhaps not." She leaned in, and for a moment I thought she was going to kiss me instead. Her lips brushed my ear. "Thank you," she whispered, a confession of vulnerability that felt more intimate than any embrace. "For honoring my brother." Mara joined us, her presence a calming balm. She took both our hands, and the familiar warm energy flowed between the 3 of us, a circuit of shared experience, shared trauma, and a bond forged in fire. "The trials are over," she said softly. "The old laws have been satisfied, but now a new choice begins." I looked between them, the Ice Warrior and the Mystic Dreamer, 2 halves of a whole I was now inextricably a part of. The law said I was their husband, their protector, but the law felt like a hollow word for what was growing between us. It wasn't about duty anymore. "What happens now?" I asked. Kaylee's silver eyes gleamed with a mix of challenge and promise. "Now we build, we heal, and we learn what it means to be a family." That night, for the first time, they didn't lead me to my prepared quarters. They led me to theirs. There were no words, no grand declarations. There was only a quiet, profound understanding. In the soft glow of the bioluminescent plants, Kaylee's touch was fierce and passionate, a release of all the tension and danger we had endured. Mara's was gentle and knowing, a connection that went deeper than skin, a merging of souls. It was a night of discovery, of 2 different kinds of magic, 2 different kinds of strength, coming together with my own. It wasn't about possession or duty, it was about balance, a trinity of hearts that had found their resonance. I was no longer just Luke Miller, engineer from Earth. I was part of something larger, something impossible and beautiful. I had found a home in the space between a warrior's passion and a mystic's grace. Our future was an unwritten page. The challenges of bridging 2 worlds, of healing a fractured society, of navigating a relationship that defied every convention I had ever known, were immense. But as I lay there, with Kaylee's head on my chest and Mara's hand in mine, their breaths rising and falling in rhythm with my own, I wasn't afraid. Let the universe watch. Let them see the Earthman and his alien wives. We had a world to rebuild, and a love story to write that would transcend the stars. If you were captivated by this journey across worlds, then hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We're just getting started exploring the vast, untold stories of the cosmos. And I want to know what you think. Who embodies the kind of strength you admire most? The fierce warrior Kaylee, the wise mystic Mara, or the adaptable engineer Luke? Drop your choice in the comments below. Your engagement helps forge this bridge between our worlds. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars and never be afraid to answer when they call.